Okay, greetings to the best family on YouTube. Well, in our opinion at least, our wonderful and fabulous EDC family. I'm your host, Prophet, and with me as always is the Professor. And we thank you for joining us for yet another EDC video and another knife video. Who would have thought it, right? Well, today we have a bit of a change up here at the compound. So since you're really been so amazing to us and we've been growing and we've had so many wonderful comments and fantastic people wishing us well, we've mostly, as you probably know, have been reviewing knives, right? And honestly, we've been mostly reviewing more high-end knives. That's due to my, I don't know, how do you say, collection bug, right? I mean, let's be honest, it's could be even considered a disease. Well, I digress. Today, we are going to change that format up a little bit, okay? We're going to take a break from our more expensive pieces, and we're going to focus on more of a, instead of a bug problem, we're going to call it a rodent problem, right? To answer your question, yes, I know that I am super corny. I'm probably about as corny as a state fair deep-fried corn on the cob delicacy that we would all enjoy, and that's probably an accurate description. But as you all have grown to love my kookiness, remember, you've all grown to also love my granny's perspective. And her perspective and her, how should we say, unique phrases, maybe, would be a good way to say that. Oh, furthermore, I think Granny had a good view on this collection thing. Granny used to say, having too much of one thing is as useful as a back pocket on your church shirt. She may be onto something, folks. Honestly, she really may be. We'll leave that alone for a minute. But seriously, having too much of one thing is just as useful as a back pocket on your church shirt. Where does that one thing, where does that problem go? Who knows? We'll leave it at that. But as I was saying, we don't have a bug problem. We have a rodent problem today. But before that, I am going to talk a little bit about what was in my pocket today. Today I carried the Spyderco Sleece buoy with M390, a Northwest custom milled titanium clip. And I do tend to carry this knife when I know that I'm going to need a really robust knife out on the go. So I did carry that as my primary knife today. As you can see, you know, this is a carried knife. I understand that these are worth a lot of money, but again, I carry my stuff. So that was my primary knife. We'll put that off to the side. The flashlight that I carried today, let's see here. I've got a little custom case for it from my belt, but it was this wonderful little Olight. It is the Arcfield Pro, and this one's really neat because you get a laser, which is more helpful than you think it would be. A UV light. Oh, there's a little UV stain right there. I don't know what that is, but you get a little UV light, right? And you also get a flashlight. And the flashlight has multiple levels like Olight loves to do of what you can do with it. I love this little light. It's very good for finding if you have like an oil leak in an engine, which is what I primarily use it for, or a transmission or something like that. It's really good at locating if you've got some like leak dye in there or something like that. It's a fantastic little tool. Can also find AC refrigerant really easily in a vehicle. Has a flashlight, like I said, has a little laser in case I have to point at something. Love it. I pop it right in. So that was my flashlight of the day today. And I also carry this little guy when I'm going to be out and about here and there. And I can usually put a pen in here, which is, I have this little guy here. Little brass pen today, a little EDC pen. All right, and I do usually like to carry a traditional knife. This is a really cool Ohio jackknife here. I absolutely love this. This is from C. Reisner. It is an M390 titanium. It's a fantastic new style, old school type of knife. We will have these on the channel. Again, there's really, oops, almost hurt myself there. There's nothing wrong with having an old school knife on you. We're gonna go ahead and close that up here. Let's go ahead and try not to cut my finger off. It's got a heck of a pull on this one. So like I said, I just kind of like having that as an extra piece. And I usually have a Leatherman in my car with my tool belt. So yeah, There we go. So cute little thing. Love this little pouch. I can't remember exactly where I got it, but it's fantastic. Okay, I digress. We had to do the little, oh, I also had a pocket piece on me, which I normally do. This is a tetradrachm. It is of Alexander the Great. It is a posthumous tetradrachm. I'll see if I can get you a little love on it. I've recently had it soaking in white vinegar to remove some tarnish, but it is a wonderful little piece, and it's got some awesome history. Anyways, so that was my pocket piece, my flashlight, my primary, and my secondary knife with my EDC pen. Again, as I was starting to say, right, we were talking a little bit about my collection bug, right? Today we have a collection rodent for you all. Yeah, I said that right. I said rodent. So it is what it is, right? So what rodent do we have in front of us? Don't freak out. Don't go running for the hills. And for all of you who didn't shut the computer off there or your phone, it's not really an ordinary rodent, right? It's a rat, and not just any rat. We have today this Ontario Knife Company's rat model number 1, not to be confused with the rat model number 2, which is the smaller relative of this little knife here. So why on earth would a knife company that has been around since 1889, right? Why would they name a knife rat? Well, it's not a rodent that they're talking about. It's not a mammal that they're talking about. Or even a little tattletale for all of you mafiosos out there. This rat is different. Jeff Randall and Mike Perrin formed Team RAT, which stands for Randall's Adventure and Training. Get it? R-A-T. Okay, to learn more, stick around for the Knowledge is King section. And then obviously we'll go into the professor's particulars for those stats that you love. And finally, we have our size comparison portion of our videos to get all those details to feed your hungry EDC brain. So if you would like to skip over those 3 sections that we just spoke about and save yourself some time, well, our wonderful supporters in EDC family, you know that we like to give a little portal of escape for all of those you that don't like to get involved with the nitty-gritty of the history, the maker, the designer, etc., etc. Don't be scared. Step right up, all right? Follow the timestamp in the professor's portal. That will carry you to our carry or bury game, where we give our recommendation to you if this rat, right, should be trusted and protected, or should it sleep with the fishes? Huh? Get it? Sleep with the fishes? Or at least sleep in our little toy coffins and be buried, as we do with the knives or gear that we do not recommend here. With that being said, wow, we've got a dirty rat. My goodness. All right. With that being said, hold on, I can't help myself. I'm having a little bit of a problem here. Locate. You know, I wish Professor would just give me an easy button to activate this portal. Okay, let me just, is this it? No, that's not it. Is this it? You know what? I think it, oh, that's right. I have to say it. Forgive me. See you folks soon. Have fun taking Professor's Portal. See you soon, friends. All right. For those of you who stuck around, welcome to the Knowledge is King section, where, as you can see, our professor will have a little spinning icon for you to help you know where you are in the video. All right. Now, we learned in the beginning why this knife was called the rat, but what does that truly mean, okay? Well, according to one of our fantastic channel recommendations, which is bladeforums.com, there is a user there named GatorFlash1, which we'll also have in our description. But, you know, as not to digress, but Blade Forums quickly is one of this channel's favorite places, not only to get information, but you can also buy, sell, post pictures, just have fun with other knife enthusiasts. Honestly, it is a wonderful, wonderful tool to have in your EDC enthusiast tool belt. Now, this channel greatly appreciates them, and we also appreciate GatorFlash1 for helping another user answering that exact question, because it's kind of hard information to find, right? So from his description in 2002, The Ontario Knife Company entered into an exclusive collaboration with Randall's Adventure and Training Team, which we learned was RAT or RAT. Now, they are a professional survival training, expedition guiding, outdoor gear research team based here in the US and Alabama, but they also have operations in Latin America. So RAT is a legal US representative of the Peruvian Air Force School of Jungle Survival. Seriously, how flippin' cool is that, right? I mean, seriously. Now, the RAT team was formed by Jeff Randall and Mike Perrin. It's considered to be the leading authority in the research, testing, and design of remote adventure and survival gear. Pretty darn awesome. RAT and the Ontario Knife Company did partner up, and they've produced not just this knife or the RAT 2, but a series of knives, right? For not just us consumers, but also for hardcore adventurers. You also got the civilians, professional soldiers all around the world. Honestly, RAT knives have served in Afghanistan, Iraq, and honestly, a lot of other non-publicized conflicts all around the globe. That's pretty cool stuff, right? So, in the beginning, we talked about this knife isn't the normal super expensive knife. I'm not sure if you can pick one up right now, which we will talk about, but they're around 40 or 50 bucks. This particular one being in D2 steel instead of the normal AUS 8, but it is a super budget friendly knife. Again, pretty cool stuff. What about Ontario Knife Company? Well, as we said in the description, they were founded in 1889 out of Naples, New York. They have a wonderful and rich history as well. Unfortunately, we're not going to dive into all of that like we normally do, and I'm going to tell you why. So, their rich history is fantastic. You can read about it on their website. Thank goodness it's still there. But the reason that we're not going to get into it is that we're sad. Not just me, the channel, a lot of EDC users are sad. The Ontario Knife Company, also known, folks, as OKC, was an American manufacturer of knives and military tools. On August 1st of 2023, just last year, almost a full year to date, OKC was acquired by Blue Ridge Knives and subsequently closed. All right, folks, the company that owns them, and again, that may be Blue Ridge, they still have their website up, whereas you can read all about their rich history as we kind of talked about, but they also have a new message, which is why we've decided to have our recommendation now, right? Because we hope that we'll see new RATs and other models from Ontario Knife Company being made again, maybe still here in the US. Now, that's not the most important thing to us, but as one of this channel's favorite reviewers on YouTube has quoted multiple times, it's always good to root for your home team. That quote is from Mr. Nick Shabazz. He's a gem of a human and reviewer. We always use his words with a smile. Anyways, here's what their website says in regards to possible future business. The Ontario Knife Company has been purchased and relocated to Virginia, United States. Please pardon our disruption in service while the relocation is completed. We will be in contact with you as soon as OKC is open for business again. Honestly, we hope for the best, and if we get any new information, we'll be sure to let you all know. If you'd like to learn more about the history of OKC, we will have a link to their website in the description, and they have a wonderful, wonderful little website indeed. Now, let's talk a little bit about this knife in particular, right? And listen, I'm sure that you were all able to learn something in our Knowledge is King section, and we thank you for watching it. So hopefully you learned a little bit about where this knife got its name, a little bit about the knife, and what might be coming in the future. But now it's time, folks, for All About Them Stats, which is our channel's professor's favorite part, which is why we lovingly call this section Professor's Particulars. Again, to help you know where we are, the Knowledge is King little spinny icon will be replaced with the Professor's Particular icon. Fantastic. After that, there's only one icon left before the game starts, the carryorbury game, right? And we will then welcome some viewers back. Now, I digress. So while I'm talking about this a little bit and while Professor puts this up on the screen, I'm going to move this pocket clip because it is absolutely in a ridiculous location for what I'm used to at least. So I'm going to show you how simple it is if you have one of these, or if you're not liking where the pocket clip was on the other side here, how fast and easy it is. I say that right as I'm under camera and the little clock is ticking away. My goodness, this is not easy under camera. Let's try that again. You know, Nick Shabazz, again, we talked about him earlier. He continuously breaks knives apart and shows you how to maintain them on his channel and does it all under a camera. Man, that guy should get an award because this is not as easy as it looks. My goodness, where are we hung up? These are the longest clip screws I think I've ever seen in my whole life. We've got them free, folks. We've got them free. So normally I like to actually wear mine tip up, right hand carry. And so we are going to spill screws all over the place and lovingly move the pocket clip into a position that suits me better. And normally we would be putting Loctite on these, and I probably will, but honestly, for the video, what I'm gonna do is just get these guys moved. Now I have another rat knife out in my little collection bin, is the one that I've used and carried more than this one. This one was a new one, but I wanted to kind of show off a newer one here because mine is used. I have used that rat knife more than you could ever believe. So now that we're in the stats section, folks, let's talk a little about those stats. We got that move though, looks much better. I'm telling you, it even feels better. Knowing that the pocket clip is where I really like it and knowing how easy it is to remove it, it's a big plus for me. And for you lefties out there, as you can see, they've conveniently made areas where you can switch the pocket clip to the other side. Let's talk a little bit about the particulars here. The overall length of the knife while it's open is 8 625 thousandths of an inch. Pretty nice size, right? The blade length is 3 625 thousandths. However, you do lose some because you have a little choil area here, okay, with no sharpness, which would mean the cutting edge is 3 1/4 inches. The blade thickness there is about 111 thousandths. The blade material is normally AUS-8, however, and you can get that a lot less expensive. The blade material on this particular model is D2. As you can see, it does have a drop point blade style. They do utilize a flat grind and they do a darn good job at it. It gets down to a very thin edge. It's really hard to show it off on camera, but it is a very slicey, nice knife. Hands down, very good. It has a satin finish on this particular one. It does have a larger than normal handle. The handle or the grip area of the knife, depending on what you like to call it, is 5 inches. The handle thickness is over 1/2 inch, about 510 thousandths of an inch to be specific. The handle color here is a tan color, okay? It is a frame liner lock style made out of steel, which brings the price down a little bit from something like titanium. It does have a 5 71 thousandths of a weight in ounces, so just under 5.1 ounces. I just switched it to a right hand pocket clip tip up, right? Which means while it's in my pocket right here, the tip of the knife is facing up, which is where they come up with that right hand tip up, because this will go into my pocket this way and you'll kind of have it in my pocket, but the tip is pointing up. This would be the left hand side or the show side for most knives, unless you're Christopher Reeves or somebody like that, which is pretty cool. Anyways, I digress again. This is a manual opener with a thumb stud, and you do have thumb studs on the left and the right position. They call that dual thumb stud. We talked a little bit about the locking mechanism. We do have a liner lock made of steel here. Obviously, this is the Ontario Knife Company's Rat Model 1. The exact model number for this knife, if I remember correctly, I believe it's 8867 T like Tango, N like Nancy. See how I did that? Half military, half not, for all you folks out there. Country of origin, Taiwan. It is an everyday carry or EDC pocket knife. Pretty darn cool, huh? And for all of those of you who really are enjoying this beautiful little knife, I would like to thank you for that. Now, our dear professor thanks you as well. So thanks for following along in his favorite section, but it's time to say bye-bye. to the professor's particular icon, and then to say hello to our next and third segment, which is our comparison segment. You'll see professor's little license plate that will say comparisons. That will always help you remember where you are in the videos. Now, we've got a couple knives to talk about, a couple knives to compare with. The question with this one, with the collection that you all know that we have here on the compound, is what knives to actually compare it to. So we are going to start with this little guy here, because this is normally a budget knife as well. This is the QSP Penguin. Now this style, or this configuration, if you will, of this knife, it has the Mokutai front scale here, and it has a purple titanium rear scale with a Mokutai pocket clip. Now this also has S35VN steel. You can normally pick up a QSP Penguin for around 45 to 55 bucks in their basic configurations. As you can see, this one's been used pretty heavily by me. Again, I do use my stuff. But because it's in that budget category normally, although not in this configuration, I still thought that it'd be nice for you to see the size difference, which it is very, very large. As you can see, it is a very big size difference. Got that there. What we'll do is we will close these guys up here and put them next to each other that way. You know, Mokutai is one of those things where, or any kind of Timascus, is one of those things which makes it extremely hard not to get fingerprints all over it, especially with my big hands. But it's a beautiful, beautiful configuration. You can see it is really, really beautiful. It's basically titanium that's been forge welded into a Damascus configuration. Thickness-wise, the rat is much thicker. You do get the milled pocket clip, however, on the QSP. On this version, I can't remember if you get that on the normal version. All right, now enough of that one. Another budgety style knife that we have that we're going to compare it to here is this little guy. This is the Gerber Fuse 7CA17 MOV stainless, or 7CA17 MOV stainless, also known as 7CA17 or 7CA stainless. Honestly, it's just basically an upgraded 440 stainless steel, because they use some cobalt and molybdenum, and that adds hardness to the knife. But they're about 35 bucks. So let's take a look at them together. Now the Gerber is going to be a lot thinner. On the wonderful Ontario rat, you do not have those big old liners there. So let's see if we can get a good area here. Pretty big difference. Again, even in thickness, you know, you can see the difference pretty quickly about everywhere. I mean, this is a big knife. So another knife in the budget area that we wanted to bring out that's very popular. Now this one has liners as well, but they are, I believe they're titanium. You know, I could be wrong. They may be steel as well. But this little guy is the Ferrum Forge Stinger. It's wearing Nitro V steel from Ferrum Forge. Another nice budgety pocket knife. Now this one is going to run you a lot more, about double what these little guys will run, but it's still in that budget category. You have a more of a deep carry pocket clip on the Ferrum Forge. But as you can see, the Rat 1 is a very large knife. If you want to get more towards the size, you'd be looking at the Rat 2, which is again the younger family member of the Rat 1 here. Oops, let's keep that there. Now, just for kind of size, we're going to look at the Spyderco PM2, forgive me, Paramilitary 2. The one that I had nearest me here is the Tonto, which I do have the drop point as well, but you'll get the picture there. As you can see, the Rat is actually coming in bigger than the PM2. And the PM2 is considered a very large knife. It truly is. This is definitely not a small knife by any means. It might look a little small in my large hands, but it's not a small knife. You can kind of see that you're getting quite a bit of a difference. Now thickness, you're very close on thickness, as you can see. You have a lot more contour with the Spyderco. You have the nice choil up top here with the Spyderco. But again, it's just a much bigger knife. And then even closed, you're looking at a much larger handle area here. Okay. Now, we always like to give one more quick comparison of the knife we'll be reviewing in the following week, which is this little guy. We're going to be finally reviewing this Spyderco PM3, which is wearing Spyderco's patented Spy 27 CPM powder metallurgy steel, right? And we are going to show that next to the Rat. Again, this is the PM3. This is their lightweight version. It's wearing their Spidey Blue FRN lightweight scales. It's also wearing, again, the CPM Spy 27 steel. If you'd like to learn more about any of the steels we just talked about, or any steel in particular, this channel would love to recommend you to knifesteelnerds.com. They have a person there named Dr. Laren Thomas. Dr. Thomas, we call him Doc Steel here at the channel, is probably the go-to person for any metallurgy in the modern age. The man is brilliant, he's fantastic, and he's very kind. I don't know him. There's no endorsements or sponsorships between the two. We just trust what he does, trust him, trust Knife Steel Nerds, and we give our wholehearted recommendation to them. And it's always great to learn stuff. And he wrote a fantastic book. I believe it's called Knife Engineering. It is a really, really cool knife. Now, this PM3, this is going to look a lot more closer to the Rat 2 model, which is the smaller version of the Rat 1. I don't have one here at the compound, but just keep that in mind. There is a smaller version of this guy. All right, with that being said, we are going to put our next week's knife away. We got some cool B-roll footage with this one too. We wanted to show you the strength of these FRN handles, so we dropped them from a helicopter. Or maybe it wasn't a helicopter, but we like to pretend it was. It was a drone. We dropped it from a drone, you know. I digress. You'll see that next week. All right, let's throw that over there. Let's continue with the Ontario Rat model. Well, actually, we got through our size comparisons pretty darn quickly, didn't we? My goodness. So I think what we'll do is we'll move on. As the comparison license plate leaves your field of view, we have to give you a little bit of a note. What's coming up here, we always like to give you a note, is people are going to come back now from their hiatus. Well, to us, it's a hiatus, right? But they were honestly just skipping ahead. I digress. Welcome back, everyone, from Professor's Portal. If you missed any of the fun by taking Professor's Portal and coming to this portion of the video, which is our carryorbury game, thank you so much for coming back. We appreciate you. We also appreciate the folks that stuck around to the learning, stat, and comparison sections. And for those of you who stayed, again, I say this every week, I love that there are people out there who are just as big of a nerd as I am. For that, we thank you. But don't think because you skipped, we don't appreciate you. Again, we say this every week, time is money. We get it. We get it, folks. Enough of profits jabber. Let's get into the game that you all came for. Now, if you just came back from Professor's Portal, you may notice that we changed the pocket clip from a tip down to a tip up right-hand carry. No big deal, just wanted to let you know that we were able to do that very quickly. So it's something you can do, and there also are options for lefties on this very knife. Now, getting into our game, right? Thank you again. So we review the positives and negatives of a piece of gear, or in this case, a knife. We do have a video labeled 001, which will explain a little bit more in detail how the game works. Quickly, we always start with the positives. We get to 4 positives, we will stop. Then we'll move on to the negatives. If there are 4 negatives, guess what, folks? It's time for a tiebreaker, right? The positives in our content are denoted as little pockets with the word need stitched into them. The negatives are represented by nails. For instance, nails in the coffin, right? Why are nails in the coffin? Because if a knife or piece of gear or whatever we review doesn't become need strong, we can't recommend it. If we can't recommend it, we will bury it in our backyard, do a 21 flipper salute, and say goodbye to that piece of gear. Now, Yes, yes, that was our very first pocket noise. That means I'm getting carried away as usual. So, what is our first pocket, or need as we like to call it, or positive of this little guy right here? Well, it's going to be price. Yeah, I said it. It's a first on this channel, by the way. The price of this guy. You're looking at getting a knife for between $35 and $50, depending on sale prices. And it's a usable knife, right? It's a fantastic price for what you're getting. And we would be very, very, very bad if we didn't bring that up. And honestly, it should be the first thing. And we'll talk more about how all this combines later here. What would be the second pocket? What would be the second need or pocket need or positive? Well, we're going to go on this little rat one, the action. Did you hear that? Let me do that for you again. Let me do that for you again. Oh, was that my index finger from the left side opening the knife? I'm not sure. Let's see. Oh my goodness, it is. How about my middle finger? Oh my goodness, we call that a Spidey flick, so lovingly named for the Spyderco knives. This knife has got fantastic action. So let me ask you something. Prophet, is it running on bearings? No, it's not. It's running on washers. In fact, I'm not sure, and you'll have to forgive me, I can't remember if they're Teflon washers or if they're actually bronze or if they're one of each. I really can't remember. Maybe what we'll do is we'll get a flashlight in there and we'll see if we can get any information for you while we're here at the channel. So it does look like we have one Teflon washer and one phosphorus bronze washer. What that means, honestly, is you've basically got a piece of plastic as a washer and you have a non-piece of plastic as a washer. And my goodness, the thing comes out pretty great. Now, I have seen it on these guys where they will have two Teflon washers or two phosphorus bronze washers. I'm not sure how it depends, but this one definitely has one of each. So you have one of each and it comes flying out with authority. And this is a newer knife. If you remember, we grabbed this one and we moved the pocket clip together. The one that I used and carried more is somewhere in the knife collection outside in one of the many, many tubs of knives. What I can say about it is that little guy has even better and smoother action than this. They've got great action. This is basically an out-of-the-box knife. I've done some light work with it just to kind of get it ready for the video. Made sure it was sharp, all that good stuff. But yeah, it's basically out of the box and it is just very, very quick, very fast, fantastic action. Yeah, I'm getting carried away, Professor. I get it. Number 3. We're going to go with the blade, but I know there's a lot of things that the blade can mean. In particular, we're going to be talking about the sliciness and usability of the blade. Now, keep in mind that on this knife, you actually have a large area here. You can call it a choil, call it whatever you'd like, but there's a big area right here where the tang of the blade's coming down through here that you don't have any sharpening usability. So yeah, that would be something that they would ding you with when they were trying to measure it. But cutting edge wise, you actually lose this amount. However, even whether you choke up like this onto that choil area, or whether you are just using it normally, okay, and using the jimping here, regardless, it is a very slicey blade. It has a very thin edge that comes down to. Remember, this is full flat ground, which means that from the spine of the knife, they are grinding the knife shorter or thinner and thinner and thinner stock until they get to the edge, which really gives you this unbelievably slicey, workable knife. And it is a semi-traditional style type of drop point, but what I will note on it is that the belly or where the knife comes around and actually kind of comes at a lot more of a belly instead of a fast fat belly where you don't have too much of a point. You get more of a gradient slope. And what that's doing is it's giving you more availability to puncture, which you really can't go wrong with. This knife really is very slicey, very usable, very task-oriented, if you will. So wow, that was 3 already. Do we have a 4th? We do. That was our 4th pocket or need or positive. We're just going to call them needs, right? You need these things in a good knife. Number 4 is this knife is option friendly. Prophet, what in the world do you mean by option friendly? Well, let me tell you. Now, most knives that are budget knives, you really don't have an option where you're going to put the pocket clip, right? Like this, like we moved it together. This knife, they've taken the time to drill out and have configurations, whether you want tip up, tip down, left hand or right hand carry. So that's one really neat option. They're really making sure that a left-handed user would be able to mostly use this without any issues. You also have the dual thumb studs, right? That's a nice option to have, okay? But what I'm really talking about is you can actually get these knives in a lot of different blade steels, a lot of different color combinations. They really do make sure that you can get a knife in your budget that it works well, that's suited to you, whether that be color, whether that be blade style, whether that would be the blade steel. You get a lot of options to make this knife usable for you, whether you're left or right-handed, whether or not how you want to carry it, and whether or not you want to have it colored nicely. And I always like when a company goes through the trouble to give you a lot of different options. There's not just, well, you can get it in blue G10 or you can get it in carbon fiber. You really do get a lot of options with these rats, whether it's the Rat 1 or Rat 2, but fantastic. Option friendly is always going to be a plus on this channel. That brought us to 4, bud. Wow. I tell you what, guys, we really have started to kind of fly through some of these areas, but at the same time, I'm being told that my rambling is getting worse and worse. So instead of going my normal spiel here, let's just say, yeah, we got the 4 quickly. Yes, we're already at the positive end here for now, right? Whether or not we're going to recommend to carry this knife or to bury this knife, let's get down to see if we have any negatives or nails that we like to call them. We do have some, okay? But before we go over them, let's just quickly recap what our positive needs were. Number 1 was price, okay? Very nicely priced. Number 2, very nice and solid action. Number 3, the blade of this guy. Very, very nice blade. And we went with our number 4 as options because whether you're a left or right hand user, whether you like to carry it in your pocket in a different way or configuration, whether you like different colors, for the price, you're able to find a lot of different options. That was our positives. Nice little recap there for you folks. Recap aside, you know that sound, don't you? If you've watched our videos, you've gotten used to it. That, my friends, is a nail sound. And that is our first nail. Our first nail in the proverbial coffin of our content. And what is our first nail going to be, folks? Is it going to be something you've seen a lot of? It is. Balance. So one of the things, you probably have known me well enough by now to know that I am kind of a balance snob when it comes to my pocket knives. And we really don't start getting a balance on this guy until well down the handle. And we have steel liners. I can't balance it on a round tool there, but we'll balance it this way. So you're really kind of down into this area right here for balance. And regardless of how you look at that, that's a big chunk of your handle, and keep in mind that you don't have cutting ability here on the knife, right? So technically you're looking at, all this wasted area for balance. So it really doesn't have a fantastic balance for what you really would work a knife with for a long day of working, right? So we're definitely going with balance is our first nail. Okay. Oh, I swear, guys, it's not that I'm not trying to listen for it, but you just heard it. We got another nail. This nail is sort of kind of continuation of what we were just talking about with all this area here. We're going to go with number 2 as our nail or a negative, the handle to blade ratio. Now, I'm going to be honest, I've heard other YouTubers talk about this. I don't know if they've really done it hard like we are, where we're going to give it an actual ding to possibly get buried. But the handle to blade ratio is very, very lopsided here. Let's hope we've got some stuff here that we can help you with. So if we're looking in inches, we're going to look at where our actual usability is on the knife. So if we're going to go to tip to usability here, we're looking at about 3¼ inches. Okay, 3¼ inches of actual blade length, because this is not usable right here. Remember that, right? Right in this area, not usable. So then let's look at the handle area. So we've got darn near, actually, I mean, seriously, it's actually probably just maybe a 1/16 of an inch under 5 inches. And that doesn't count this area where honestly you could count it more handle than knife, right? Which would bring us to an astounding, almost 5¼ inches, actually a little over 5¼ inches. So depending on how you want to look at it, you've got maybe 3¼ inches of blade and 5¼ inches of handle area. That's a pretty big difference. I would say there's a lot of area to try to figure out geometry on these knives to make that better. But we're going to just say that that is one thing that I'm not a huge fan of on this knife. It's just a lot. I remember, folks, I've got big hands. I really do. And this is kind of outrageous for me to have a 3¼ inch working area on a knife to do my whittling or whatever I'm doing, cutting. But I have all this handle sticking out. So handle to blade ratio is our second nail. There it is. Our third nail, another ratio for you. Weight to blade ratio. Let me kind of explain this a little bit. So typically, what we want to see here, right? We want to see an area with about, for every inch of blade, you want to see about an ounce of knife. So we're going to turn our little scale on here, and we're going to put our knife on it. Oh, let's actually get it to a, forgive me, let's get it to a usable area. Give me just a moment. There's our ounces there. There we go. So let's try this again. So we are coming in, I guess it depends on when you weigh it, right? But we're at about 5 ounces. I was weighing it a little bit earlier, and it was a little bit heavier than this, but it looks like we're coming in at just under 5 ounces right now. And I mean just under. Basically, it's a 5-ounce knife, okay? Now, you have, again, like we just talked about, you have 3¼ inches of usable blade. So normally you'd like a knife like this to be around 3¼ ounces, maybe 3½ ounces if it's a little heavier. Heck, maybe even 4, right? Because you do technically have some blade area there for a choil. But folks, literally coming in with these guys at 5 ounces, basically, that's pretty darn heavy. And with today's machining, you can get in there and really kind of make some differences down the road. Heck, the handle's big enough, you could even probably lop off a 1/2 inch of this guy and redo some geometry on the blade. I don't know. I'm not making them. I'm just going to say that that is definitely a nail on the knife. That was another nail. Wow, 4 again. Wow. So, folks, the fourth nail on this is going to be availability. Now, can be a big argued thing, right? You can say, well, profit, these guys technically aren't making knives right now. Yeah, that's true. Absolutely true. But it's still an issue, right? This is still something that you're seeing knife pirates get their hands on them and selling them for more than they're worth. Eventually, this is going to get a bad rep. What I'd really like to see is the company that has them right now or has taken them over, maybe get rid of some of that old stock that you have there. I don't know. I guess I don't own the company. I'm not a CEO of the new company. And I'm sure that hopefully if these continue to be made, we're going to see them, coming in strong again, right? Or maybe even having some new options. But it still is very hard to come up with these right now. And for such an iconic knife, you'll see a lot of famous YouTubers such as Nick Shabazz, maybe even Metal Complex, utilize these as size comparisons because they were so well known for so long as such a nice little reliable tool that a lot of people own them. So availability is going to be 4. And guess what, guys, we got to 4 again, right? 4 and 4. So we got there real quick again. Now, just understand that although this one's new, we really do use and carry these when we do our reviews. These are our opinions, okay? We have our own opinions, kind of, right? And that's a whole nother rabbit hole we won't go down today. But let's kind of do a little recap here. And in the spirit of how we do things at carryorbury, let's do a little recap here, she? Get it? Because it's a rat. Like, it's okay. I digress as always. So one more time, Professor, what were the needs for the Ontario Knife Company's Model Rat 1? Number one was the price. Remember, between 35 and 50 bucks, depending on this knife steel, where you get it, yada, yada. Fantastic. Very good, budget-friendly knife. Number two, you just heard it. Let's do it one more time. The action of the Rat 1 is awesome. Number three, what you have for usable blade, right, is fantastically slicey and easy to use and sharpen. Also, whether you're left-handed or right-handed, depending on how you like to carry the knife, depending on what color you want, there's a lot of options available for these budget knives, which usually when you're talking budget knives, you do not have those options. Now, the negatives or the nails one more time. If you remember, number one was the balance, right? Number two was the weight to blade ratio. Number three was the blade to handle ratio. And finally, the last nail we went with availability. We are keeping in mind that the company is in hiatus right now. Now, with that aside, what everyone is waiting for is for me to fumble through, right? Oh, Prophet, just shut up and tell us. Okay, let's figure out what this $35 to $50 knife, unless you find it on sale or have to go through a knife pirate. Well, let's see if it will be carried proudly and recommended by us at carryorbury, or if it will be buried in the backyard. All right. Drum roll. You know, we should come out. I know when we bury a knife, we do our 21 flipper salute. We should probably have a flipper drum roll we should figure out one day. That might be pretty cool. And you always know when I'm over talking because Professor just put the need sign or the pocket sign up. There it is. We are recommending this knife for a lot of reasons, right? And again, I know when we go to 4 and 4 and then have a tiebreaker, you might think there's only 5 positives or 5 negatives. Usually there's more, but we just try to go with what we can to keep it a little bit more time friendly. But what was our tiebreaker today, you ask? Simple. Reliability. It's almost unbelievable to me how well and reliable this little guy is. Like I said, I have one of these somewhere in my knife storage, right? I'm not sure where it is right now, but I have used it and abused it, rode it and put it away wet, whatever you want to say. Rode it hard and put it away wet. Whatever you want to say about it, that knife has always been just a workhorse for me. And unlike this might be a new knife, but it already has really good action. I already want to go and do some jobs with this thing. It's just a great knife to have around. Now, I could have went with, for what it is, it actually has a pretty decent hold in the hand. It's not perfect. You know, I'd probably give it a 6.5 as for the contouring goes, for comfortability or ergonomics. But really, it's that reliability. It's the fact that these Rat brands are made to buy at a decent price, and whether you're civilian or military, whether you're out just leaving Walmart and you need to open your Apple bag, or whether you're in the Peruvian jungle, these guys are made to be easy to maintain, to work, and to slice. That's what most tools should be, right? And that's what these are known for. That's why so many YouTubers use them in size comparisons. That's why so many people over the years have had these. That's why it's so darn sad that we lost them last year. Now, again, we're all hoping we see them again, which is why we're doing this carry or bury deal today. But I do got to say that, well, you know what? Let's just go with this. Maybe this will help. What my granny would say, you folks seem to really love what she says about that. But what she would say is, well, if something's that good, it can be so rugged that a cowboy could rely on it, yet so gentle that a kitten would nap on it. Yeah, I get it. Granny was a little out there. A kitten's not going to nap on this thing if it's open. I think the point would be, though, is this knife can be used, reliable, yet when you're headed to a little hike in the woods, it's a great little companion to rely on at a very affordable price. So congratulations to the Ontario Rat Model 1. You are recommended by us here at carryorbury. We are very happy with that. It's nice to have a budget-friendly knife that we are proud to recommend. So our shorts will be coming soon, hopefully even this week here yet. Our next knife next week is, as I said, the Spyderco PM3. And the reason I'm putting these wonderful little towels on here is hit us up on Instagram. Hit us up on Snapchat. Hit us up on Facebook, for goodness sakes, at any social media site. We've got, awesome little cards. We've got little wonderful microfiber towels. We've got stickers. Folks, we want to make sure that if you want some gear from us for free, we'll send it out to you. Honestly, just hit us up. Say something nice on Snapchat. Add us as a friend or follower. Now, folks, about the knife today, and really any knife, right, that we've had on our channel or will have on our channel, we are YouTubers. Do not take our advice on what knives to just buy, what knives you can carry legally. Do your due diligence. Speak to someone who isn't a YouTuber. Speak to a professional. Talk to a lawyer or other trusted professional. Also, it really doesn't hurt to visit, and if at all possible, support atki.org. They are the American Knife and Tool Institute. They are on the front lines, helping keep your freedoms and rights to carry, buy, and use knives. Honestly, this day and age, we're losing stuff so quickly. It's nice to have someone out there really fighting for us. Now, as always, we really do appreciate your support. Our channel shorts, again, will be starting again next week. We also have another channel that will be debuting. I know I keep talking about it. We'll just say it's in the works and you'll have more information soon. So watch out for news for that. Now, one thing that we always like to say, right, and it's something that's really important to us, is you can find us on most social media apps, folks, searching for @carryorbury, or just look for our logo. Until next time, our wonderful EDC family and subscribers, keep those blades sharp, keep those flashlights charged, and keep those band-aids close. Remember, you are the best tool in your daily EDC logo. God bless you. We will see you next time.